Hey kids, and welcome to the show. And today we're going to be talking a little bit more about business and starting a business in an environment that is scary. Well, here's the thing. You will find, and I think this is true in the restaurant industry more than any industry, and I've been in a couple of them. I've been in retail, I've been in sales, but the restaurant industry, more than any, I see this hiccup. And this hiccup is one that will cost you not only customers or financial well-being, but it will cost you your business, and that is not being willing to share your ideas. Sometimes you have an idea and it is $1 million idea. You're like, man, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna make a fortune off of it. Well, the reality is, if you don't do anything with that idea, it's just an idea, it's a dream. We need to change you from dreaming to being goal oriented and accomplishing those goals. One of the things I'm writing in my new book is one of the chapters is just going to be my family recipes. And I use my family recipes to kickstart my business. One of my businesses. We've had, and I was 5 years old, cutting out little pictures of the Statue of Liberty and trying to sell them as puzzles. So I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I've also known when to buy stuff and when not to buy stuff. So here I am. I'm about to give away all of my recipes, and there's a reason for that. So let's go back. Entrepreneurial spirit. Where did I get that entrepreneurial spirit? I got it from just observing the people around me. My cousin Randy and I decided we were going to go cut grass one day, and we borrowed my grandpa's lawnmower and grabbed the gas can, and we started running down the road. Fortunately, kids can't do that today, but we did. We were pushing that lawnmower, we were cutting grass, and we worked our tail off. And I don't know what the exact numbers were, but we worked our tails off all day. And this was back in the 80s, and we had $20 when we were done. And we went to our grandfather and we said, look at all the money we made. And my grandfather quickly reminded us that it was his lawnmower and his gas, so we had to give him a portion of the profit. So that ended up being 10 of the $20. Basically, he took 50%, and my cousin and I split the rest. Well, fast forward 30 years now, and almost 40, and both my cousin and I are pretty hard workers, and we understand the concept of when someone helps you, you need to be ready to give them theirs, basically. So we learn from the people in our lives, and we learn because we observe and we put that learning into action. So why do I talk about that? Well, my grandfather is one of the most influential people in my life. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up. My mom was working a lot, worked really hard, but my grandpa was there. So when he said something, the very few things he said, they stuck with me. And one of the things I've tried to do is learn his recipe for our bedni, or our family pulled pork. My recipe isn't perfect, but I went to my uncle and he taught me how my grandpa did it. I tweaked it a little bit, and so now I have this recipe that to me tastes like being in my grandpa's lap, basically. And it's like me having my little bowl of food, and it puts me in a very happy place. And that's why probably why that became our most popular menu item on our food truck, because it was always made with love. Now, with food trucks and with restaurants, there's always that person that gets into that business, and they are absolutely adamant that they're not going to share their family recipe. And that makes sense. You don't want to put your family recipe up on the wall so everybody can see it. But here's the thing. You also don't want to leave that legacy behind. So here is what I'm doing. I'm putting this family recipe in my book that I'm writing, so anybody that wants it can read the book and get the recipe. There was a time where I wanted to hold this recipe to myself, but I realized that if I hold it to myself, it has no opportunity to become another person's family's recipe. So even though this started with love for my grandmother and my grandfather, and it was a labor of love to create this recipe, the only way to honor them is to pass the recipe on. And here's the other piece of that, and this one's the funny piece. It doesn't matter what your ideas are. People have to do them. And most people, unfortunately, are lazy. Hopefully not if you're watching these videos, because we don't do lazy in our house. But most people aren't going to put that step forward and take that opportunity. And if you don't take an opportunity, you're going to lose that opportunity. So sometimes you have to jump, and you have to say, this is going to be it. My mother just made a big jump of faith, a big leap of faith in selling her home and changing her stars. Never been more proud of her in my life, because it's hard to make a decision when there's been just one way for your entire life. Well, we're going to change it. So I go back. You hide these recipes. You hide this idea, and no one ever gets to use it. I would challenge you, if you have an idea and you have no desire to bring it to market, share it with somebody that will. Even if you want to just sell that idea. When I was in the Army back in the late 90s, my roommate and I would take our 12-pack cans, and we would take my pocket knife and I would cut a little hole in them, so that way they would kind of feed themselves in our refrigerator. Well, guess what? I didn't make a penny off of that preparation that they added to the things later on. Maybe somebody came through my room, saw it, maybe not. The reality is I could have been the person with that little preparation. I could have made that happen, but I didn't, because I didn't have a desire to. So give that idea to somebody else. There's a short film I really want to do. I don't want to be a filmmaker, so I contacted somebody I know that it is connected with filmmakers. I mean, he's gotten a couple Emmys, so he knows his stuff, and it's not really his style, but I gave him the idea to pass on to somebody that might make the movie. And even though I won't be the director and I won't be the writer, when I sit back and watch that movie, I will be able to enjoy that idea. So I'm writing some short stories, so I'm going to put them all in a book. So even if the books never happen, or the movie never happens, you might see some of that. But this is a really cool idea. So if you're a filmmaker out there, it hasn't been made yet, I've got some ideas for a couple different films. So we can definitely talk about that. I love brainstorming. So as I said, you have to share things. Some people will just never do it. I'll give you my recipe for this pulled pork, but I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna take 8 hours in your oven to do it. The prep time is like 15 minutes, but you have to watch it, you have to cook it, you gotta change the temperatures and all this stuff. Most people aren't gonna do that. So I could have posted that recipe up on my food truck, and I bet you 9 out of 10 people would still come to eat it, because it was a delicious meal. Okay? Same with the red beans and rice. Very simple to make red beans and rice. One of the easiest things you'll ever make. But it takes time. When you're at a minimum of 3 hours to make fresh beans, it takes a while. People just don't want to do it. They don't want to spend the time. However, I enjoy cooking. I like cooking for a lot of people. And we were able to sell red beans and rice. And that was our number one menu item for the entire time we worked. It was our number one profit item. And so we survived on red beans and rice. Not only did we sell it, we ate it. There was a time where we had zero money. We had like $50 in our account, and we had a cater or an event to go to, and we're like, oh man, how are we gonna do this? $50. I went and got a big old bag of beans and a 20-pound bag of rice, and I cooked the shit out of them beans. And it got us over to the next cater and into the next cater, and eventually we ended up being very successful. It means not doing so much. Sometimes you need to be basic, and not basic in a bad way, but basic. Go back to your fundamentals. The reality was, a lot of people that day said, where are your po' boys? Where's your gumbo? Where's your alligator? Where's your pulled pork? The real answer was, we don't have enough money to make those meals and make them right. But the answer was, hey, today we're just going to keep it simple. Red beans and rice is our number one menu item. So would love to see you come back to our truck next time. Very few, probably in 5 years of doing this business, I think maybe 3 people maybe walked away from our food truck when our menu items weren't what they expected. So you can try to be everything to everybody, and that's not going to happen. That was one of my my pitfalls when I first started the food truck. You can pigeonhole yourself into things, but you can also leave it so broad and so open that you can never succeed. And I'll give you a couple examples really quick before we end this movie today. I'm going to keep it to 15 minutes, so we're almost done. We're around 10 minutes. Anyhow, there's a couple ways to accomplish that mission. And it's so there's two things I did that pigeonholed myself into the food truck business, okay? One was the name. I thought about the name for a long time. It's a food truck. It has to be really catchy. I'm from Louisiana, so we came up with the name La Gumbo Yaya. And Gumbo Yaya, loosely translated, is like all the ladies in the kitchen cooking. They're all talking. It's a Gumbo Yaya. You know, it's a loud party, or you know. And La, the abbreviation for Louisiana, and the word the in Spanish, brought it together. La Gumbo Yaya, the loud party, and that was written on the front of our truck. And it was a fusion of Cajun and Puerto Rican food, which my family was Puerto Rican. I grew up in Louisiana, so it was really easy to mix those French, Spanish, and African dishes together and make something really good. However, the name La Gumbo Yaya never was about gumbo. And the first time we opened, we didn't have gumbo on the truck. And I had never actually made gumbo by myself, from scratch. I've seen it done. I worked in a restaurant. I watched, I observed. I always observe everything. So I've seen it done. And every time somebody walked up to our truck, it was, hey, what kind of gumbo you got? And I was like, well, we don't sell gumbo. And they're like, well, your truck's name is Gumbo. You know, you're the gumbo truck. So immediately, this little boy had to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Do I change the name? Do I continue on the way I am? Or do I learn how to make gumbo? Well, I chose to learn how to make gumbo. And then my obsessive self learned how to make over 150 different kinds of gumbos and had names for them all. And it was just too much. But we eventually tuned it back. So we always had like a chicken and sausage gumbo. And when we're at bigger events, we knew we were gonna make a little bit of money, we might do a seafood gumbo on top of that. We also did the red beans and rice all the time because we made a lot of money off of that. And we did the pulled pork, which was one of my favorite items to cook, because when I cooked and I threw that in the oven, it was, or cooked it on wherever I cooked it, because sometimes I cooked it in plates, or not plates, like a, what do you call it? Dutch oven. So I've cooked it over a fire before, not for a food truck, but for personal use. Anyway, so I had this love, and then I had my teammate next to me, my wife. It was our teammate. We were single. We were trying to hustle and make this business happen, and then we started having kids. And then I lost use of my legs. However, there were a couple things that we did that were smart. We adjusted. So like I said, we didn't do gumbo. That first time, I just wanted po' boys. I just wanted to make po' boys. Oyster po' boys, shrimp po' boys. I just wanted to be able to have a good po' boy anytime I wanted, because you couldn't get them in Oklahoma City. Found a good place for bread. I made some good food. We made some good po' boys. But we were sitting, when we started the food truck, there were only seven gourmet food trucks in the city. All of them were, the rest of them were taco trucks. Nothing wrong with the taco truck, but that's not what we were creating. And I believe this video is going to go longer than 15 minutes, but that's okay. It's a good story. Anyhow, there were only 7 gourmet food trucks. And we happened to park at our first event. It was at church. It's like garage sale at church. And we were parked next to one of the most famous food trucks, not only in our city, but nationwide, because they just won a really big competition on the Food Network. And you can look it up. I'm not gonna give them any more advertising, but they were a good quality truck. And the first time we parked, they were there, we were next to them, and we watched as everyone just walked right by. We had all this food on the truck, everybody just walked right by, because we hadn't made a name for ourselves. We had this ratty old truck, and we were just hustling. I think we might have spent $500 that day on food and probably made about $50 in sales. And most of the people that did stop wanted gumbo. So there you go. I pigeonholed myself into making gumbo, and I never wanted to make it to begin with. So it's really important that you realize that your name means something, which is one of the reasons we've changed the name of this channel from Third String Pundit to just my name, because names mean something. Let's not get rid of where we have gotten in our life. We don't have to recreate ourselves. Let's just work on ourselves and make it better. So there you go. We had this food truck. We got invited. We won some great awards, some international awards. It was fun. We met some cool people. Got to cook for the governor. Got to cook for famous people all the time. I don't like to name drop, but a little kid from Slidell, Louisiana, born to basically immigrant grandparents. They're from Puerto Rico, but they did come through Ellis Island, as I'm learning, and that might be a second book. But my grandfather worked on a banana boat, and that sounds funny to me. But you know what? One of my memories of my grandpa, and I don't have a lot of them because I was pretty little, but one of my favorite memories of my grandpa was him teaching me how to make a banana or eat a banana, because it had some brown on it, and you guys know how people hate the brown. Well, he pulled that banana out and he goes, "Oh no, that's the sweet part." He took a spoon and he pulled that brown stuff out and he goes, "Oh, this is the best part." And because my grandpa ate it, I tried it because I loved my grandpa, and he was right about everything. And sure enough, all the sugars go up into that little brown area. So that's what you're eating. It's all sweet. It's really sweet. So it's a little too sweet for me now. But I found myself telling my kids the other day, you know what? The brown part's the best part. And I don't know if it's something that he really liked, or it was the fact that he worked in the banana industry. I don't know. And I'm going to talk to my mom about this more to learn more. But could it be that he took a job working on a banana boat because he could bring bananas home to his family when he was trying to make ends meet? Because bananas are pretty darn healthy fruit. And when you don't have a lot, being able to bring a couple bruised bananas home can mean the difference between your family living and your family dying. So I am excited, and I'm learning more about my family and my grandfather's story, and hopefully I'll learn more. But in the meantime, if you have a secret, meaning like a secret recipe or a secret idea, use it or you're going to lose it. And if you're not going to use it, pass it on to somebody, okay? Just give it to somebody and let them change their stars. I said recently, if you have $1 million idea, find somebody that has $1 billion drive, not somebody that has $1 billion, because there's plenty of rich people out there that don't work, and they don't work hard. But if you have an idea, you're going to have to work hard to make that idea a reality. And I speak from experience when I say it doesn't matter where you start, it depends on where you end. And I'm planning on ending someplace pretty nice. So hopefully some of this was encouraging, and know that everybody's story is different. But be that person in that person's life that can mean the difference between them losing everything and thriving. And that's kind of where I'm at. I want everybody around me thriving, because misery loves company. Yes, we know this, but joy craves it. Work hard, be kind, and have fun.